Welcome to Intuitive Astrology with Molly McCord. Thank you so much for joining me today. This is a Monday podcast episode where we focus on a particular astrological topic or theme. And today we're going to discuss the energies of Black Moon Lilith, which has just moved into Libra and is making some significant aspects in July, August, and September 2024. So I wanted to go into what is going on with these transiting energies, but I think it's also important to break down the different components of Lilith, where there is the astronomy, there is the mythology, and the astrology. And in addition to these topics, I also wanted to go through the 4 different Liliths that exist in astrology, because this is where it can get really confusing. So when we are looking at Black Moon Lilith, we are looking at a hypothetical point connected to the lunar orbit around the Earth. And Black Moon Lilith that I'm going to be focusing on with the transiting energies is the mean Black Moon Lilith, which is the average of her movement. And for those of you who follow along on your natal chart and you want to look up where your natal Black Moon Lilith is, or where the transiting Black Moon Lilith is, you would look up H12. H12 is how we identify Black Moon Lilith with the mean calculation. Now, there is also a Black Moon Lilith that is H13, and this is known as oscillating Black Moon Lilith, also the true Black Moon Lilith. And that means that what we calculate is not her average, but it's more of her wild, erratic movement related to the lunar apogee point. And some people prefer to track this version of Black Moon Lilith, that is the H13, the oscillating version. And there's even a belief that this true version is more representative of her energy because it is so wild and erratic and untamed. But we're going to talk about H12. Now, 2 more Liliths to review here. The third is the asteroid Lilith, which is number 1181 if you are looking her up on an astrology database to find this asteroid Lilith in your chart, which is the only physical Lilith. All the other 3 are hypothetical points. Asteroid Lilith is typically in a very different placement than Black Moon Lilith. So this is where it gets confusing and where people don't know what they're looking at in their chart or what they should look for. So commonly, when people are talking about Black Moon Lilith, they're referring to H12 and they're referring to the mean average calculation of Black Moon Lilith. Just so you know, that's typically what people are referring to unless they specify differently. And then the 4th Lilith is Dark Moon Lilith, discovered by Dr. Waldemoth. And this Dark Moon Lilith is known as H58 and is one that hasn't been fully proven yet because it is based on a second moon, the dark moon behind the moon that we see in the sky. So if you want to research that more, you can go down a whole rabbit hole looking into that Dark Moon Lilith. So coming back to our topic here, we are talking about Black Moon Lilith with the mean calculation where she moves ahead with an average speed. And based on this version, this Black Moon Lilith, H12, she has just entered Libra as of June 29th and June 30th, 2024, and she will stay in Libra for 9 months. She stays about 9 months in each astrology sign, and it takes her about 9 years to go through the full zodiac. So this Black Moon Lilith hasn't been in Libra for 9 years. And I felt that there was a lot of significance here with her entering into Libra and experiencing a grand trine with Pluto in Aquarius at 1 and 0 degrees and Sedna now in Gemini at 0 degrees. So this is significant, and we're going to talk about it more here in just a moment. But I want to actually discuss the astronomy, because the astronomy is really important for understanding how the astrology works and how the mythology is brought to life. So with the astronomy, Black Moon Lilith is at the lunar apogee, that is the darkest part of the moon's orbit around the Earth. And that is the point that then changes signs. So this energy is connected to lunar impressions, lunar significance. Black moon is the astronomy. That's really important to note, because a lot of people go right to Lilith, but you have to start with the astronomy of the fact that it's where the moon is the darkest. So think about that. It's where the moon, the lunar energies are the deepest, the most personal, the most unconscious. It's where the lunar energies can be and want to be hidden. They're in the darkest part of the orbit. They don't want to be seen. This also relates to what is kept hidden, what is secret and taboo, what we don't see unless we put on, let's say, night vision goggles, unless we really have that keen eyesight or that keen energetic awareness to tap into something that isn't readily visible. So the black moon is important to understand here, because it's about the parts of yourself that you might not even see in yourself. It's very shadow energy. It's very internal and private. And it also represents where you want to go. Perhaps when you're having dark phases of life, it can be deeply connected to your dark night of the soul experience, or experiences for those of us who have a punch card where we have 9 dark nights of the soul and we get the 10th one free. Yay. This is the energy too where things can be hidden and tucked away. And one thing that came up when I was digging into this energy is family secrets. What is hidden in the family lineage? What isn't readily discussed or brought into the light? What is kept with ancestors and their stories? Perhaps even what's related to the maternal lineage, because we're talking about the moon, which is mothers and the womb, nurturing, pregnancy, but in the realms of what is not revealed. So secret pregnancies, hidden children, abortion and stillbirths, and the experience of not having a child move through a full healthy pregnancy. It could be anything related to the maternal lineage of reproduction, of emotions, of trauma that's hidden. Again, family secrets. And I realize these are touchy subjects, okay? These are very touchy, and I certainly don't meant to be triggering or wanting to bring up anything unpleasant. I'm just wanting to describe the energies. And so this is all of these areas of the family that are the dark secrets. And yes, this would go into sexual abuse and incest and traumatic physical experiences. Again, the dark moon, the darkest energies. It also can be related to the depths of your shadow self, and where there are parts of you that you feel and experience that come alive, that are very powerful and strong. This is the energy of wanting revenge, wanting to get back at someone who has manipulated you or betrayed you. This is the part of you that could even go into some of those scenarios of, what would I do if I could get away with this and there'd be no consequences? So when you're understanding this energy signature, the astronomy focuses on the darkness of the moon and everything that the moon represents to us. Now, keep in mind that when we're talking about this lunar apogee point and the lunar orbit, the moon always comes back to Earth's gravitational pull. So you don't escape this energy. And that's where you could feel yourself wrestling with things at times, right? Like wrestling with some of those deeper, darker scenarios, or what if I did this, or what if I did that to them because they did this to me? It can very much be an eye for an eye when the black moon is triggered and reactionary, because again, these are the darkest feelings. So that might be fascinating for you to explore in yourself, what the dark moon means, what the black moon means, especially because just like that gravitational force, you then have to bring those emotional responses and feelings back into the Earth's atmosphere at some point, which would be connected to the lunar cycle and how you process feelings, move through internal responses and reactions, how your own lunar energy comes alive, and what you've learned about how to process those dark nights of the soul, or to even know yourself through the realms of your own shadow. So keep in mind that this black moon is lunar. Now we pull in the mythology. Okay, now we bring in the Lilith to the title, Black Moon Lilith. And so Lilith is related to the mythology that is meant to support the astronomy and make the astronomy more relevant and more personal. So we have this archetypal energy of Lilith that is commonly referred to in the Bible. Now, versions of Lilith existed before the Bible, and Lilith has been portrayed in various forms for about 4,000 years, if not longer. It could certainly be longer than 4,000 years, but she's been this mythical archetypal being that has embodied certain darker energies. Some have called her demonic, some have called her a hybrid of being half woman, half serpent. She's been called ungodly in all forms and versions, and has been portrayed in different extremes, if you will, throughout all these tales and legends and versions of mythology, especially that relate to different cultures and traditions. She was portrayed in the story of Gilgamesh. She has been mentioned in the Dead Sea Scrolls, and on this can go because she's been referenced through thousands of years of narratives and storytelling. So then we come to the most recent and perhaps even most commonly known description, where she was the first wife of Adam, or so the tale goes. And yet she did not want to be submissive to Adam. She wanted to be an equal, and she basically didn't want to do what she was told by him. And this is when she decides to leave, basically telling Adam, I don't want to be in your boring garden. There's no waterfall. It takes forever to get an apple around here. I'm not even sure you're that cute, and I'm not going to be contained or caged. And so she flies away. And some say that she flew away on demon wings to escape his wrath and to escape his ego. And then he pulls in Eve to replaces her. And so this version is where Lilith sets herself free from patriarchy. Because within the structures of patriarchy, a woman's value and worth is dependent upon her relationship to the male. And she says, I'm not having it. I'm not going to be a part of this. You don't determine my worth. You don't get to choose or decide what I want. And because of this, she becomes seen as unruly, rebellious, wild. She can't be tamed. And what happens next is that Adam tries to get her back, and she says, no way, I'm not interested in returning to your basic economy garden. And then she goes and has a bunch of children on her own. And in the mythology, she has hundreds of children because that's her sexual nature. She has a very powerful sexual force. She's very fertile and she does what she wants. And so after she told Adam no, then one version of the tale goes that he ordered for her children to be killed because they were demons. They were ungodly if they were not created with him. And so, of course, you can hear in this version how it relates to feminism and the rising up of equal rights and the understanding of what that could be. Now, important to note that there have been many waves of feminism. And so even to say that word doesn't mean it has one definition or one understanding. There's many waves of feminism related to the different emerging needs and philosophies of women across multiple cultures, multiple countries, multiple socioeconomic statuses. So even to say feminism is not fully accurate because there are so many different definitions of feminism at this time. But getting back to the mythology of Lilith, this is where this particular tale of her liberation, her freedom, her desire to be sexual on her own terms has now been connected to the archetypal understandings of Black Moon Lilith. So this is where the astronomy and the mythology converge to bring alive an archetype of what this can mean in your natal chart as well as in the collective energy field. So when we're now discussing Black Moon Lilith, it's the parts of ourselves that want to be free and open, that don't want to be caged or held back or told to stay in line. We don't want to be contained in a patriarchal system that can feel disempowering and take away some of our innate primal instincts and desires. And just to insert, some of us went to the Lilith Fair in the late 90s, which was a celebration of Lilith energies. So just wanted to throw that in there because as I was putting together all the information for this podcast, it made me remember the Lilith Fair and Sarah McLachlan's desire to have a musical celebration in the spirit of Lilith. So the mythology of Lilith is meant to showcase how the Black Moon energies can be felt and experienced. And also going into this archetype, I feel that it has a beautiful representation tied to the heroine's journey and how the heroine's journey is typically described through 3 phases of growth and evolution that evolve from that first initial initiation of a feeling. You could relate this again to the dark night of the soul and to something within you that is meeting a part of yourself for the first time. And you can meet it with a type of naivete, not know how to work with this energy, especially when it's quite powerful. Again, remember, because this is lunar, Lilith is lunar. It could be your inner child that is trying to figure something out, that's feeling things, that's coming to terms with something that is very uncomfortable. And then as the energy moves through that heroine's journey experience, the energy is designed to get deeper. And this is where Lilith goes into the underworld. This is where you go into the parts of yourself that you might be meeting for the first time, but you don't want others to know about or to see. It's very private. It's what you do behind closed doors. It's how you express yourself or you free yourself in a way that maybe by standard societal conditioning is taboo, is too much, is not acceptable. But as the energy progresses through the heroine's journey and you're learning more about what this means, there's a new level of power that rises up. And this is the mature Lilith energy that feels boldly empowered to be herself without apology, without thinking she has to cater to anyone or deny any parts of herself. So there is an emotional empowerment journey here. This is where you become more secure and confident in who you are, what you need, your own expressions, what is true to those parts of yourselves that maybe only you know about yourself, or you only share with a lover or a trusted partner. That is part of the Lilith journey, where you're claiming this and you're understanding that this is part of who I am. And no, it doesn't fit in to societal norms, but it doesn't have to, and I don't want to. And by the way, I don't even care. And that's the freedom. And that's the emotional release as well. Because Lilith is lunar, there is an emotional release here around what you are holding and allowing yourself to feel all that you feel, but with responsibility. And that's also part of the heroine's journey, is the rising up in not only the levels of empowerment, but the levels of responsibility that go with everything that you might be processing, feeling, and experiencing. And so Black Moon Lilith gifts us with this part of our human nature. Now, it does depend, of course, on which astrological sign she's in your chart for how you experience that, how it comes alive in you. Of course, not only the sign, but the house placement and any aspects to this Black Moon Lilith would be important to understand. Now, in some understandings, she's seen as being very dark, as, again, demonic, that she has a big wrath of rage and emotion, that she is a seductress without morals. And in the more extreme versions, she was seen as one who would kill children, where instead of having milk in her breasts, she had poison in her breasts. So that's more extreme. And of course, you do have to question the original storyteller who created these stories, who created this type of narrative, and what were their intentions at the time. Because you could interpret it as the intention was to fear powerful, independent, sexually alive women, and to demonize that so that it wouldn't become too powerful or too challenging to the systems that were currently in place that did not want to see female liberation. So again, that's the mythology that is meant to support the astronomical understanding of the energies. Then we pull in the astrology, and the astrology is a further deep dive into the application of the energies, interpreting them, and understanding the particular themes that come alive as specifically Black Moon Lilith now moves into Libra, where she fully enters the domain of relationships, giving and receiving, communications, partnerships, one-on-one interactions, as well as Libra is the sign of open enemies, those who openly disagree with you and perhaps have a very different value system. They don't like you. You're not on the same page. And so with Lilith now in Libra, she makes a powerful trine to Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. And I think this is a really big deal. I think there's a lot here in this trine to Pluto. And one of the first things that comes to mind is facing yourself honestly, facing a fear, facing a pattern or unconscious emotional response in relationships, learning from it, elevating it, allowing it to be transformed. This is transformative for these Lilith energies to experience a trine from Pluto in Aquarius. Now, Pluto is retrograde, and we'll be making this trine to Lilith for the whole month of July. And that's because Pluto begins the month at 1 degree, 23 minutes of Aquarius retrograde, ends the month at 0 degrees, 41 minutes Aquarius retrograde, and will stay within 3 degrees orb of Lilith. Then as they both move into August 2024, they start the month 3 degrees apart, And then they end the month of August 6 degrees apart. And you could still say that they are within orb simply because of how Lilith moves, how fast Lilith moves. But there's something here that's really important for Lilith's modern day empowerment. We could certainly see this in the collective, in the workplace, in relationships. But at a personal level, you could be rising up in something that you no longer want to experience through those Libra expressions. You could want to address inequality or have a conversation with a partner, a friend, a spouse about what isn't fair or what you need more of. Because I feel that Lilith represents what we need more of. And on that note, not only is this an energy of being very forthright with communications, okay, and being very honest about what you need and what is true for you. But Lilith is also going to make a conjunction to the super galactic center at 2 degrees of Libra. Now, this will be exact July 17th until July 26th. So about 10 days. And this conjunction to the super galactic center is about obsession. It's about always needing connection, always needing relationship, always needing the other. The super galactic center pulls in energies. It's like this crazy, intense vacuum that's like more, 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 more. It's never enough. There's a voracious appetite here. And with Lilith conjunct the super galactic center, trining Pluto, something is changing at a very deep level of our emotional energy field. Remember, Lilith is lunar. Lilith is emotional. Something is being shown to us around our own unhealthy, out of balance emotional patterns where we always want more or connection, but is it truly feeding us? Is it really sustainable? Is it even healthy? And the answer here is no. It's not healthy. What is unhealthy in you that you're seeking out in another that really you should be fulfilling in yourself? What is happening for you in July 2024 that is showing you more of perhaps your unconscious, remember Black Moon, unconscious emotional habits that perhaps are related to something in your family, your culture, traditions, maybe ancestors, something in your lineage? Or maybe not. Maybe it's just something that you're feeling deeply that you have assumed or thought was your own black hole. Like, I don't have enough. I'm not enough. What can I get in another? And again, it's obsession, it's addiction. And how is that energy being fulfilled in ways that you're realizing, I don't want this anymore? Because both Lilith and the super galactic center in Libra are trining Pluto, transformation, evolution, facing a fear, looking at something and understanding what it really is. The super galactic center in Libra is the person who always has to be in a relationship, like serial monogamy. Very hard to be independent, very hard to be on your own, not sure of who you are as your own independent entity. And so there's something deeper happening here around relationship dynamics and what it means to have true and equal partnerships. And as this energy trines Pluto in Aquarius, there is something in your individual frequency that you're meant to connect with that supports your independence. Aquarius is okay doing its own thing on its own terms. That's a healthy Aquarius. Healthy Aquarius is, I am who I am. I accept this. I love who I am. I don't have to fit in. I don't have to belong. I don't have to be a part of a group. In fact, for some Aquarian energy, it could feel like the group brings me down. The collective sinks my vibe, sinks my energy. So what have you noticed about yourself in group atmospheres, in community, in connections? And I mean this at a very realistic everyday level, where you show up at a group experience. How does your energy interact? Do you contribute? Do you lean back? Do you observe? Are you looking for the exit? Are you overwhelmed? Do you feel like you're there out of obligation? Does it make you come alive? Do you love the experience of multiple energies and a lot of stimuli? So I think that's part of how this Pluto in Aquarius trining Black Moon Lilith and the Super Galactic Center in Libra are showing us more about our individual needs in relationships, what's working, what's not, and to feel strong in whatever answer that is for you. To not think it has to be a certain thing because that's what it is for your friends, or that's what your conditioning has been, or that's what the expectation is. What really feels true for you? And are you comfortable and strong on your own? Because you might realize that it's only certain connections that are good for you. I was having a conversation with a friend as a quick side note here, and we were discussing all the people in the world that we're exposed to now through social media and the internet and all these places. And we were just talking about it's too much. We don't need this many people. I mean, if you want quality connections, you don't need a lot of people in your life to have quality connections. Now, of course, it depends on your energy. So this could not be true for you, which is important for you to trust. But just in this conversation she and I were having, it was like, we don't need all these people. It's too distracting. It's too much. There's no way I can maintain all these friendships. Like, if you want to have quality connections, you pick and choose the people that are really in alignment with you, where there's really good receptivity. Like, there's that strong Libra dynamic of giving and receiving, and it's equal and it's fair, and we take care of each other. And the other thing that she and I will say is like, I'm choosing you. I actively choose you. I actively choose you to be my friend every day. I value you. I care about you. Like, I want to give to this connection. She and I also have this agreement that we've talked about where we're like, if I mess up, please tell me, because I want to apologize to you. You are someone in my life that I value. I will always apologize. I will always take responsibility if I hurt your feelings, if I didn't do something, if I missed something, if it's on your mind. Like, let's just open this space up to have a good quality connection where we're both responsible and we both care about how we take care of each other. So she and I will say this to each other where it's like, I want to apologize to you. Like, I want to make it right. I want to make it better. And in our years of friendship, I think we've only had 2 issues come up where we've had to have those harder conversations. But nonetheless, those are the quality of people I want in my life. So as we look at these energies here, relationship dynamics are shifting and evolving so that they're in better alignment with what you need with the people in your life. And this could show you where your energy is going out into places that don't support you. How many Facebook friends do you really need? Like, it's not a popularity contest anymore. It's too much, right? How many contacts do you really need that you can maintain that are real and true? I think that's what this energy is asking us to look at, to really understand the value of quality connections and good people and what that looks like for you now based on what you've learned through the Black Moon Lilith expressions and energies. So you might have some very personal understandings of specifically feminine energies. Remember, this is talking about feminine archetypes that don't work for you. Women you don't trust. Women you don't feel comfortable around. People you don't want to share with. People that you're testing. It's okay to test people. It's okay to see what they do with information. Where does it go? Who do they share it with? It's okay to observe that and to determine if someone is trustworthy or not. This energy is happening in the air signs, which is about intelligence, information, communications, looking at what's happening and thinking it through, making new choices, clear decisions that are a better fit for you. So then, in addition to this Black Moon Lilith conjunct the Super Galactic Center, trining Pluto in Aquarius, the energy is also trining Sedna in Gemini. Now, I've done separate podcast episodes for you discussing the Sedna and Gemini theme, so in the interest of time, I'm not going to go into that here. But keep in mind that Sedna is the energy of what she had to sacrifice, surrender, and give up, and then she was deceived. Clearly not a feel-good story. But the story plays out in her favor in the long term, where she then becomes highly revered and respected for her powers. Because after she was betrayed and deceived and fell to the bottom of the ocean and moved through a very deep mourning process and had to understand the depths of betrayal and how she was treated, she then rose into her full power of ruling the oceans, ruling the mammals in the oceans, being the one that sailors would pray to have a safe passage, especially if they were going on a long voyage or if they were on a hunting expedition to bring back food for their tribes. Sedna was also known for not being very accessible. Only shamans could connect with Sedna. Only shamans had the qualifications to enter her realms and ask for her blessings and good tides. Literally, good tides. So the Sedna in Gemini is bringing our curiosity, perception, communications to more of these depths of personal discovery, the stories we create and sit with, the narratives that we process, how we explore more about our internal learning perspectives. And Sedna, now in Gemini, is going to open up new ways to perceive these stories, going deeper into their layers, seeking more knowledge and new ways of working with Gemini themes that we weren't able to tap into before. So I feel that this Black Moon Lilith in Libra trining Sedna in Gemini is asking us to be braver in our communications, to go into some depths that we haven't been into before, to not be afraid of the dark. And that would be something that both Sedna and Black Moon Lilith have in common, is to trust our navigational senses, to trust what we're feeling, and actually not get too locked into mental perceptions or reasoning to the point of our own detriment. So we also have this Black Moon Lilith creating a grand trine in the air signs. And that is about our internal thought patterns and wanting to figure it out. And that's part of a grand trine. Now, this is something that one of my mentors and teachers, Noelle Till, taught, was that a grand trine, which would be composed by all three astrology signs in the same element, so in this case, Gemini, Libra, Aquarius, they actually create a closed system that doesn't want external information. It wants to circulate in its own environments and discovery process. And so this could be quite private for you, a private review, something that you're moving through and understanding about your life experiences, about your own relationship patterns, your own communication habits. And this is big stuff. It really is, because not only are we working with these very influential outer planets that are at times difficult for our minds to wrap their perceptions around, but we're doing a deep dive across timelines. And I feel that this is a very multidimensional influence. I feel that we're working with many timelines here through the energies of this Black Moon Lilith. I feel that it's opening up some it feels very emotional, very hard experiences, where you maybe literally died because you spoke up, you were persecuted. There are things that you said and you were different and it wasn't accepted. And maybe you drowned. Maybe you were killed. Maybe you went to the guillotine. I mean, these aren't happy stories. But that's where the power of Pluto trining Lilith gives us greater strength to face the fears, to also know that we're in a new timeline and a new state of consciousness. We have new choices, new options, new tools. We have new ways of being in our truth and owning more of those Black Moon energies that are meant to embolden us, empower us, and to be okay with what we feel, knowing that not only is it our truth, but that it's also our responsibility. And okay, as if that wasn't enough, one more thing here just to share with you about the influence of this transiting Black Moon Lilith is that she's also going to be conjunct the South Node in Libra. And this is going to be unfolding into August and September. Now, the nodes are measured in a similar way as Black Moon Lilith. I don't want to go into too much that would be confusing, but I have a video for you on YouTube that shows you the ways that the true North Node and the mean North Node are calculated. The mean, again, being an average, which is how we are tracking this Black Moon Lilith, is through the average, which we call the mean. And then the true North Node is more erratic, as it will retrograde and go direct. So whichever nodal axis you reference, you're still looking at Black Moon Lilith conjunct the South Node in August and September 2024. And that South Node is a release point, a completion, where whatever you're understanding through these big cosmic influences that are streaming in to give this Black Moon Lilith more consciousness and more information, there's things you're going to be deciding for your best and highest good as we move into September and October. I feel this is a huge clearing of relational patterns and dynamics. You could be doing this for your family. You could be doing this for your ancestors. I'm even getting, wow, this is quite big. I'm feeling the energy of a grandmother that wasn't able to be fully empowered in her lifetime, whether that was her culture, her society, her country, and that there's a granddaughter making the choices that she couldn't make, that it's clearing the lineage. And I actually, as I saw that energy, what I really saw was an umbilical cord being cleared, energetically cleared. Of course, only take this if it resonates with you. This might not resonate at all, but I'm seeing that for some people, you're moving through something so much bigger than just your own journey in this lifetime. You're moving through a grand clearing in a lineage where you might not even have much information to go on. You don't know the stories, but the energy has persisted. I feel like this energy of Black Moon Lilith going across the South Node after she trines Pluto, trines Sedna, and is conjunct the Galactic Center, there's a big release. And you might feel called to do a ceremony of some kind, a ritual, some type of deep healing, even womb work, or any kind of healing in the breasts or the stomach, the abdomen, uterus, hips. It feels physical, but only trust that if it resonates. Since, of course, I'm not giving you medical advice, I'm just sharing the energy that I'm reading and feeling. Oh, and I forgot to mention that Lilith is conjunct the South Node at 6 and 7 degrees of Libra. 6 and 7 degrees of Libra in August and September. And because these points move rather slowly, I'm just calling it both months. Just so that you know when the energy is increasing and picking up, as well as when it might start to feel like it's relieved in October and into November. So there are big areas of relationship dynamics that are being cleared. They are ending. They are being phased out. You could feel like they're not even energetically supported. You could also have some new realizations around the kinds of people you want in your world, how you want to connect, what matters to you, what is valuable to you in relationships, which is a prime theme of the Libra expressions, where you're on the same page, or if you're not on the same page, you're both in agreement with that. And as the eclipses move through here, there's going to be things that the universe will empty out and remove, because even if your mind is in one level of consciousness, your emotional body, your energetic body, and your spiritual self is ahead. That's how I'm seeing it too, is like there could be a split where you think, no, I should stay in this, or I feel like it's for my best and highest good right now. Or there could be an obligation or things you have in common. And then your spiritual self is directing you forward into new territory and new domains for you to grow in. Oh, and if you're interested in the heroine's journey, I wrote a book on that back in 2013 that described the various phases and stages of growth in the heroine's journey. And it did feel quite Plutonic as I was writing it and channeling it, but you could certainly connect it to the energies of Black Moon Lilith and her own journey. It's called The Modern Heroine's Journey of Consciousness, and I hope it assists with anything you might be moving through. I did want to also share one more thing, which is that we've been talking about Black Moon Lilith and Lilith being lunar, and it's a different consciousness than Eris. So Eris exists outside of Pluto, and Eris is Plutonic energy, the Plutonic, destructive, uninvited feminine. And I have a video for you on YouTube discussing the differences between Black Moon Lilith and Eris, in case you want to explore that for yourself. And in fact, next February 2025, Black Moon Lilith and Eris will be in an opposition. So that should be juicy. We'll talk about that as that gets closer. I'll put that on my calendar here to dive into that, as we're going to have some big energies between these feminine archetypes. As always, thank you so much for joining me for this podcast. I hope this was validating and empowering information for you. Below the podcast, I will also put down those different indicators for each of the 4 Liliths. Because again, we were talking about the H12 Lilith here, but I'll put the other 3 in the description as well. I'll be back every Monday and Wednesday for a new podcast episode. Thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to connecting with you again soon, and take good care.